Welcome to our first podcast for Just Women Live. My name's Lyn Parent and this is Sophie.
Claret.
And we're here to talk about women's stories, what Just Women Live's about, and why I have a charity in the first place.
Yeah, so tell us about Just Women, Lyn.
Okay.
Tell us all about how it started.
Well, Just Women is very dear to my heart because it gives awareness to women who are suffering or who have HIV or AIDS. And it's the red ribbon. And the purple ribbon, so I've joined them together, is a women under abuse. So it can be from marriages, it could be from the past, it could be from present with relationships.
That's your logo. That's the logo, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, half red, half purple.
From what I know, it's about sharing stories, well-being, supporting one another, and really inspiring positive changes within women. So talk to us about Just Women Live.
So Just Women Live, it's my third one. It was so popular, the first two, that the third one, I've already got tickets that have been selling out in the last 2 weeks. I've only got a few tickets left now for the 26th of March, which is a Thursday at 6 o'clock to 8:30. And it's at the White Bear this time in Tunbridge Wells High Street.
You've got a lot of speakers, haven't you?
4 speakers. Always have 4 speakers, they're 50 minutes each. And amazing speakers. I've got a woman who's a breathwork coach who teaches women how to breathe properly. Like I'm not breathing now. Naomi Bluff. And then I have an incredible doctor called Dr. Olive. She is a well-known basically for menopause and vagina health, and she's going to talk to women about how to look after themselves and what goes on. So, but all these are snippets of information. It's information that everyone gets for free. It's fantastic, where you normally pay a fortune for. And then I've got another one called Beyond the Face, and she talks about face health. You know, not have to Botox and fillers, but really what goes on with your face and how to keep it alive. It's an organ.
Well, isn't it?
Makeup that carries on, that's actually got a hydraulic acid inside, and it works as it's actually on your skin. Never seen before. And then I have another woman who is an incredible artist who has been under abuse for 30 years, who has painted and written a book, but painted this incredible art, and she's showing all the art throughout the event. Yeah, me too. And Bad Bee Hypnotherapy. She called Julie Waters, like the actress. She's actually a banker of 20 years, but she's going to talk about finance and women in finance and how to look after yourselves with finance.
It's funny, quite a lot of these speakers have had like pivotal moments in their lives which have made them perhaps give up something like a big career like banking and then do something much more about wellness and about, you know, looking after ourselves as women.
Absolutely. And that's what Just Women's Live's about. And we have a great, we have a duo band, a jazz band, a Robert Reed duo. And in fact, he's a trio because he has a beautiful singer called Ellie Lane who's coming on at 8 o'clock. So it's drinks as you come in, lovely red carpet, you have food, sit down, a lovely chair and literally just listen. And you get little gifts and things like that, and you get the cards if you're interested in following them up. But it's a place of information.
This one's quite a lot about wellness, isn't it?
More about wellness.
More about wellness.
Not so many stories.
No, we had quite a few stories in the last one. And it was quite emotional, the last one. I think this one's going to be more uplifting.
Much light and upbeat, yeah. There will be one or two. I think there's going to be one story. Yeah.
So what I really wanted to do, Lyn, is ask you a few questions because obviously Just Women is very close to your heart for a reason. I really wanted to ask about your diagnosis and why what made you decide that something like Just Women needed to exist.
Well, I was diagnosed in 1990. I went for a tattoo with my sister in Portobello Road in London and had no idea about needle changing. And unfortunately, the guy before me was having a massive tattoo on his right arm. He was a Navy guy. He obviously had full-blown AIDS, and the blood from the needle had gone from him into my groin, a little tattoo, a little butterfly. Takes 20 minutes, and I basically transmitted between me and my sister, he changed needles right in front of us. It was really bizarre. I found out 6 weeks later. I literally seroconverted, which is very unusual.
But how did you notice?
Like a flu, massive
Really?
flu, but it was more than flu. I had a high temperature, wasn't eating, and it's all the cells being attacked. The red cells being attacked by the white cells.
Did you get a diagnosis at that point?
No. Went to hospital. So, well, women didn't have HIV. No one had AIDS. As a female, it was all the males. It was all the gay guys. I mean, do you remember Rock Hudson 1990 died, and then Freddie Mercury? It was mainly gay males.
Stigma around gay males getting HIV, so there probably wasn't an enormous amount of information or support for you at that point.
I went back to hospital after getting better, after having full antibiotics, and then I slept 23 hours out of 24. My mother said, get her back in. So I went back in, and she said, look, I'm really sorry, I have to do this. I have to do every single test under the sun, but I'm going to have to take an AIDS test. I went, really? And she said, yeah. And 24 hours later, the nurse came in, and I could tell something was wrong. She opened the door so hard, it slammed.
Wow.
So it's all body language. And I said, I've got AIDS. Sometimes she said, yeah, I'm sorry, and you've got 6 months to live. So I was given 6 months to live.
Why did they say AIDS at this point?
Because you died of an AIDS-related illness, but you actually had HIV. But my CD4 count was so low, they thought it turned into an AIDS-related disease. Okay. But
wow,
I'm still here, and currently 6 months. I was in New Zealand by then. I'd literally 6 months just totally changed.
Yeah. So what were the hardest moments for you after finding out and getting your diagnosis?
Well, a massive shock. My hair started falling out of shock, and I went straight to say goodbye to people. And I decided to say goodbye to my best friend in Australia and Sydney, flew after Christmas, day after Christmas, and then went to New Zealand to see my cousins. And the hardest thing was to telling them. I'd got used to it by then, but they all burst into tears. It was terrible.
Aww.
But the hardest thing of all this is the stigma that is still attached. The stigma is terrible still. Yeah. It's non-education.
It's still quite a hush-hush thing. You don't talk about it. It's like, we've kind of moved on with things like menopause, and I know it's very different, but people talk much more about their health and yet HIV is still very much a taboo subject.
Absolutely. And the sad thing about it is that you don't die of HIV now. You don't die of AIDS anymore. So that's probably why it's not much in the press. But, I now have to take medication. I have only for the last 10 years. I was quite lucky. I didn't take it to start with. So I've only been on it for 10 years.
So, Lyn, you're a very positive person. I'm sure some people would completely fall apart with a diagnosis like that. But how did you take it, and how did it affect you afterwards?
Immediately, I was probably like The Exorcist. My whole head turned round. I saw my whole life turn round before me in seconds, and I was scrapping to think 6 months to live. What am I going to do? And I always wanted to work in a shop, so I worked in Debenhams and sprayed perfume at people before Christmas. Had Christmas with my parents and my sister, and then I took a plane and went straight to Australia and Sydney and asked my best friend to marry me because I wanted to get married before I died. And he went, no, I've got to get to know you a bit more first. I went, but we had an amazing time. So I spent kind of a month and a half in warm climates. And it was basically the clock ticking. So I had to say goodbye to people, and it was really sad. That was really hard.
And what happened after the 6 months? Because obviously you didn't.
I met a guy on a plane, ended up living in New Zealand actually, and my life completely changed. I lived by beautiful lakes. I had a great job, and I just carried on. Things changed bodily. Little lumps came, and being in New Zealand is so small, they just took it, it was one of the most exciting things on earth for them. And, they had all the doctors, diagnosing any little lump I had in my hand, and cut little biopsies of it.
So probably the best place to be in.
It was actually, really. Yeah. And then I just got on with it. I was fine. I didn't take any notice. But
did it have a positive, did it end up having
positive impact on you? It did, because I wanted to help other women like me. So I set up a really large charitable trust called Styleaid, Styleaid. and that was doing huge fashion shows and giving money to women who had HIV and currently AIDS. And MAC got very involved, and they everyone had a MAC Viva Glam lipstick and gave money to women and for their education purposes and awareness, so they were more comfortable. It's not all, it's not all kind of sugar coated. The women now, all these years later, who were taking AZT at the time, quite a few of them are dying now because the medication was so strong in those days. What you put in your mouth does have an adverse effect often at the end, and it really has now to a lot of women who are now dying from the medication, not from necessarily HIV.
So that experience of a charity in New Zealand is
Loved
what
it.
made you want to set up Just Women?
Absolutely. It drove me. I mean, honestly, every year I did different fashion shows and toured the country, mainly Auckland and Wellington. And then when I came over here, I got locked down here in 2020, coming to see my mother. Couldn't get back into the country for 2.5 years. Ended up door knocking, selling property. But in the end, I wanted to go back to my charitable work, which is basically awareness for women and children.
Yes.
And I've amalgamated this time. So it's not just HIV, it's abuse, which is such a big subject.
Yes.
And the stories are incredible.
It's amazing how many people have suffered abuse.
Unbelievable.
And we've had speakers who we thought were going to talk about wellness and ended up talking about
abusive
situations
with their own families. It's amazing what comes out.
Yeah.
And, and this podcast, I believe that we will interview people who are HIV and under abuse as well, because it's really interesting for people to listen to it.
It's lovely that we're kind of providing a safe space.
Yeah, sacred space.
Yeah, where everyone feels much freer to talk about things without judgment. I think for me, that was really what Just Women was for me. It was just so liberating. Everybody felt so comfortable talking about very personal, private things. And also it was very supportive because we had people like we had divorce lawyers, didn't we? And we've had some professionals who've been on the other side of, having to support people through very difficult times. And then we've also had the victims as well. But it's amazing what, when when you've gone through such terrible turmoil, how it can impact people's, especially women, we think,
and
their lives,
and
how it makes them,
more
make
empowered.
positive changes for their life, and also want to share their stories and and concern themselves with making sure that there's the awareness out there.
So true. And the fact that they can have these golden nuggets they can take away with them. All the speakers that come on to these Just Women Live events, they get given a card so they can ring them in their own time if they want or not, or pass it on to someone else.
And what would you say do people misunderstand about HIV today?
Yeah, often when I go into a party and someone picks up my glass, but I said, "Oh, can I catch it?" I went, "God, no, learn about it." Absolutely not. It's very hard for women to give it to men anyway.
Exactly.
It's mainly men giving it to women. And the reason why it's an epidemic at the moment is a lot more men are having sex with men these days. It's much more of a loose...
You said there's a huge figure out there.
107,000 in Kent, alone, women and children who've been transmitted.
And you just don't hear about it, do you? That's the thing. And I think raising awareness is just so important.
Definitely.
It really is.
Definitely.
And we're beyond those times where we should feel we need to be private about things that are concern your health.
Exactly. But I would go to schools and present with a screenshot of exactly how I was as a young girl, my life, and how I got HIV and how not to get it. Basically, to wear a condom, be healthy, or take a little test to make sure you and your partner are clear.
But you went through some really dark times, didn't you, after the diagnosis? You were telling me about your son.
Yeah, I got pregnant and I had a baby. I was told I wasn't allowed to have one. I took no notice of that. Cesarean section. And then I divorced my husband, but he took custody of my son because the judges said that I was going to die. And he used my weakest weapon against me. He just said that I was not fit for order and I was not going to be a fit mother and I'd be dying. So he would take custody of the child. and Francois was only 18 months then. So he's 29 now, but it's terrible what it did to his life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does happen. Yeah.
So what would
Stigma.
what would you say to another woman who might be going through something similar right now?
Learn about it. It's not that bad. It's just educate yourself, reach out. I've joined a great group called Positive Women. There are lots of really good women's groups to talk to. You can reach out to Just Women. I always talk to anyone around the world. There's a lot more worse things going on, to be honest.
Yeah.
And when you realise that and to look after your health, one thing is no stress.
Yes.
Stress eats the immune system because you have a dilapidated immune system. So you cannot have stress because stress literally breaks it all down.
Wow.
So, yeah, there we go.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you, Lyn.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with such honesty as well. And if today's episode has resonated with you at all, please do share it. This is our first episode and we've got lots more to come. This is Just Women and we are women supporting women. So we really appreciate you getting behind us and we want to continue and hopefully this will be a long-term thing.
Definitely. Thank you very much and can't wait to see everyone at Just Women Live. It will grow and it will eventually go to London, but at the moment it's in Tunbridge Wells. That's a large area and it's easy to get to and it's a train ride away. But yeah.
It's an amazing
£25 ticket. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.